Hi, everyone, and welcome to Graphics Interface 2020, and welcome to Toronto. We all know we're not actually in Toronto, so welcome to Zoom. This is the first time that Graphics Interface has been completely virtual. We hope it goes well. We've done some dry runs, so we hope that we don't have technical difficulties, but please bear with us. Just as if we were having the actual conference physically in Toronto, we would like to acknowledge the traditional land that we are seated on. So we humbly acknowledge that the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, the Mississaugas of Credit River lived and worked here before us and continue living and working here in Toronto or wherever you are. While we live and work here and continue living and working here, even if we're working from home or remotely. I'll pass it over now to Fanny.
Thank you, Alec. Bienvenue à tout le monde à GI 2020. Welcome, everybody, on behalf of the organizing committee. So, unfortunately, our general chair, David Levin, couldn't join us today, but Alec and I are very pleased to have you attend this first ever virtual edition of the graphics interface. And we are excited to have, oops, I have a glitch with the slides. I don't know if it shows at your end. And we have an amazing virtual today program starting off in just a few moments. The program includes esteemed speakers, including recipients of award for the GI Conference 2020 and keynote speakers. And don't forget that at the conclusion of the conference, there will be a town hall as well, where you can share your thoughts and impressions about the conference and what should be done moving forward. We have two exceptional keynote speakers, Mira Doncheva and Will Motley from Adobe Research. Mira is going to give a talk later this afternoon in just a couple hours, and Will give a talk tomorrow. Is gonna start the day tomorrow.
So I'm going to step over now and talk about some of the major changes that we had this year. Obviously, the one that we're really experiencing right now is that the conference is virtual. So we're all here on the Zoom channel instead of gathering together physically in Toronto. We believe this is probably the first ever virtual graphics interface, but we know graphics interface is the oldest computer graphics and HCI conference, and we're missing data from GI 1918 during the Spanish flu. So if anybody knows whether or not that was held virtually, please do let us know. This is the first graphics and HCI conference to use the open review platform. This was really new for all of us involved. And I hope our participants enjoyed the transparency that this offers. This was also a year first where we had 3 paper deadlines. So we had deadlines spread across December, February, and March. And this offered authors a way to revise their works and also fit GI best into their schedules. We also strived to have a fast turnaround for reviews this year. So paper authors found out the status of their papers within 3 to 4 weeks, which is faster than in past years. Another small but hopefully welcome change was that we allowed authors to submit their papers in any format. So if you had already been pushing for one particular deadline and decided that this would be a better fit for graphics interface, you didn't have to go through all that work finding a new format just for the submission process. All of our papers that have been accepted have been unified into a nice GI specific format after they were accepted. This year, we wanted to have really cheap student registration. In fact, we were able to have completely free registration doing this virtually. We'll thank our sponsors for helping us do that a little bit later. So with these major changes, I wanted to talk about a few of the details here. First of all, a very special thank you to everyone's patience, our reviewers and authors, and their professionalism dealing with all of these changes, especially the open review process was really different for all of us. And everyone was very accommodating with that change. If you still have strong opinions or ideas of how we can improve this process or build upon the success from this year, please do come to that town hall meeting tomorrow. So that's at 4 p.m. at the end of the conference. I'll pass it back to Fanny here.
So the papers due probably, or we believe so, to the changes that we have implemented that Alec just described. We saw a great success in terms of the submissions. So we had, I believe, what was the record in terms of submissions. We had 87 papers submitted across the 3 deadlines, which is up 50 papers compared to last year. So that was a lot. We were very happy. 45 papers have been accepted, which again resulted in a program, technical program that is grown up 26 papers compared to last year. This resulted in a 52% acceptance rate. And this might seem a little high, but keep in mind that because of this rolling deadline mechanism that we implemented, many papers took advantage of submitting early to the first couple deadlines, and they got feedback and were able to revise and resubmit to subsequent deadlines. So this was all within the span of just a few months. And in contrast, if you were submitting to GI 2017 and then got rejected and had to resubmit again and then again, we would have a much higher acceptance rate. So we believe we still, and we're convinced, we have still a very, very high quality technical program. So the quality of reviews allowed also authors to make their changes well, if their paper wasn't yet meeting the bar for acceptance. And we are very pleased that everybody in the committee produced very high quality reviews. If you don't believe us, because we have this open review mechanism, you can go and log and see for yourself all of the papers, the different versions that the authors have submitted, along with the anonymous reviews from the committee, are all public and online. So thank you to all of the authors of all submitted papers. To be honest, we didn't expect that high number of submitted papers, so that was amazing. It gave us a little bit of work, but we are very excited that we had so much great work being submitted to the conference and the resulting excellent program. And because of the high number of papers, we had also a high number of reviews that had to be produced. And for that, we owe a big thank you to our amazing international program committee. We had to grow it as we saw more and more papers being submitted to the conference. So thank you to everybody joining early or joining later when we sent panicky emails saying that we need to grow the committee meeting. Everybody has done the reviews timely, which allowed again the authors to get feedback within just a few weeks. So thank you very much for all of your work making this possible. We decided to go virtual, and we had debated whether or not to include proper presentations, but we eventually went for a lighter program in terms of the live version that you are attending as of right now. But all of the authors of the papers have prepared and recorded a talk for their papers. You can find the whole list as a YouTube playlist on the GI official YouTube channel. You can watch all of those videos at any time is convenient for you. So that was part of our decision making, having the possibility for authors to share their talk and have it remain permanently on the YouTube channel will hopefully increase exposure of their work. And so we would like to please, feel free to go and watch those talks at any time convenient for you. And we'll post also like the recordings of some of the talks that we have today, provided we have permission from the speakers.
So now it's my pleasure to announce the Michael A.J. Sweeney Awards for Best Student Papers. Every year at Graphics Interface, we announce two Best Paper Awards, and the papers must have a first author and presenter who is currently a student. And this award honors the memory of Michael A.J. Sweeney, and you can find information about Michael Sweeney on the graphicsinterface.org website. So without further ado, I'd like to announce our first Best Paper awardee, which is Danya Gafarzada, whose paper Part-Based 3D Face Morphable Model with Anthropometric Local Control is our graphics winner this year. So congratulations, Danya. You can find her talk as part of the playlist that Fanny just mentioned. Our second paper, Best Paper awardee, is awarded to two students, Donchi Han and Yasemin Heshmet from Simon Fraser University. And their paper is entitled Exploring Video Conferencing for Doctor Appointments in the Home, a scenario-based approach for patients' perspectives. Congratulations, Donchi and Yasemin. And you can also find their presentation on the YouTube playlist. I'll pass it back to Andy.
Every year, the Canadian Human-Computer Communication Society, ou en français, la Société canadienne du dialogue humain-machine, recognize influential Canadian researchers and contributors to the community with an achievement or service awards. So you can see here the committee who reviewed applications and decided on the awardees. Brian will have the pleasure of introducing you the speakers later during the conference. So the recipients of the Achievement Awards are Ravin Balakrishnan for the HCI discipline and Dinesh K. Pai for the graphics discipline. We have Dinesh, who will give us the pleasure of giving a talk tomorrow at 3 p.m. Toronto time. And when it comes to the service awards, our awardee is Kelly Booth from University of British Columbia, who is also going to speak later today at 3:30 p.m. So please come to all of those talks because it's promising to be very exciting and interesting. Congratulations to all of them. We would like also to thank very warmly our sponsors, the Canadian Human-Computer Communication Society and University of Toronto for their support for the conference, and a big applaud to everybody who took part on the organizing and reviewing and submitting papers to the conference. So before we move on to the talks, a couple of logistics details. So it's our first time with Alec experimenting with the webinar mode in Zoom, but we found out that it's providing you with a fairly simple interface from the attendees perspective. So unfortunately, you cannot share your video during the conference. Only the panelists and the speakers will be allowed to do that. It's mainly for avoiding distraction for the speakers if you happen to log in and out because of unstable internet connection. But we will ask you that during the talks that you can use the raise hand mechanism if you want to ask a question out loud. So we would like really to encourage that. It's mostly going to happen towards the end of the talks, but some speakers have also some interactive components. So please make use of this feature. When you raise your hand, Alec and I can actually unmute you and give you permission to speak. And so we would love to hear your voice to make the conference a little bit more interactive than using the chat only. You can also, if you're shy or if you have a question and don't want to interrupt the speaker and need to post it immediately, you can also post your question in the Q&A using the Q&A icon here. The questions are going to be listed. You can open this panel from your end and you can thumb up questions if you like the question of another attendee. You can pose the question being anonymous or disclosing your identity, whatever you feel comfortable with. Please use this for questions only. We will not monitor the chat window for the questions, so please use either raising your hand or Q&A icon for asking your questions, but feel most welcome to interact with the other attendees or make comments about the talk, anything that is not a question to the speakers. Please feel free to use this chat mechanism at will. Note also that some speakers are going to post links during their talk in this chat window. So that's basically the only three things that you need to know.
All right, so now we will take a short break. So why don't we take a 5-minute break so people can sit up and sit back down or take a bio break. And meanwhile, we'll synchronize with Pierre to start the next session of graphics interface. So see you all in about 5 minutes.